And welcome back. We have been joined in studio for our first segment of the morning by members of the Belize Coast Guard. We have with us Lieutenant Commander Roque Canul. Good morning.
Morning.
We also have with us Lieutenant Commander Ray Good.
Good morning.
Good morning. These gentlemen are both here this morning to discuss via an update the Tradewinds 2022 and of course Belize's involvement in this multinational training exercise, right?
Right.
Let's begin there. For the average person who may not necessarily be familiar with what Tradewinds is,
Yes.
right? What is it and why is this important in terms of being able to participate in this particular initiative with other countries within the region? Let's begin with you, Roque.
Yeah, sure. First of all, well, good morning. Thanks for having us. Tradewinds is, as you rightly mentioned, this specific session is an update because it all began a week ago on the 7th of May. It's an exercise, a 2 week exercise, and then as well it is indeed a multinational, multi-purpose exercise. Basically, this is the objective of the exercise is to build the capacity of the U.S. forces along with partner nations, meaning for the most part partner nations of the Caribbean. We have countries such as Colombia, Dominican Republic, Suriname. So it's a huge exercise. This exercise dates back to the mid-80s, 1984 thereabout. It all began. Very important for Belize specifically. You know. It allows us to analyze what we have, areas that we need to improve, you know, and also for the partner nations is to enhance the interoperability, you know, building partnerships, you know, relationships within the region in case, you know, we need to respond to a regional threat.
So I know that Belize and Mexico are hosting it, but who are the other countries that are taking part in this?
We have a total of 22 countries taking part, and they are from, you know, Antigua, Barbuda, Bahamas, Suriname. You know, there are countries that are taking part in the.
Okay, and who is implementing the exercise techniques and so forth?
It is a U.S. Southcom sponsored exercise. So I don't know if you want to butt in.
Right. So all of this is in support of Southcom, their plan, their data plan, and as Belize, as he mentioned, rightly mentioned, we are the host country now, and every year this training happens at different countries, and every year at different countries the host country. So it's happening in Belize, and we are the host country along with Mexico, because one part of it takes place in Mexico due to the patrol boats, the cutter track, and but all of this is coordinated between the U.S. and Belize. We are the lead coordinators.
Talk to us about some of the activities that fall under Tradewinds. We know it's a joint exercise, but I'm assuming that there are certain activities either on a day-to-day or over the course of the 2 week period that the participants have to be engaged with.
Okay. Well, the infantry, the army side, they have their portion of it mainly being done on mainland. For us, the Coast Guard, we have the maritime aspect of the exercise. We have 3 different tracks under the maritime aspect, which is the engineer track, the dive track, and the what is referred to as the tactical track. Under the tactical track, we have the maritime law enforcement and the small boat handling. In the maritime law enforcement, this is where these guys refresh, and I will use that word refresh because it's something that this is our bread and butter, you know, law enforcement, maritime specifically. They refresh their skills when it comes to boarding, interceptions, you know, searching, and those kind of activities. In the small boat track, you know, when it comes to recovering persons in the water, docking, slipping, you know, transferring personnel from one boat to the other. These are the types of activities that these trucks are doing.
Let me add, with all this, these set of trainings come with planning. There are a series of planning in the past that all different part of the nation get together, the leads, and we plan different training. But since we are the host country, they will prefer our requirements for the training, and that's why these specific areas as dive, engineering, law enforcement, these comes up, because when it comes to the engineering training, we use a lot of small boats, unlike other countries that have patrol boats, larger patrol boats. So the engineering training is very important to us as it relates to sharing those different skill sets with other countries.
Is it safe for one to surmise that since this whole training began in the 80s, as you've mentioned, perhaps these trainings are centered around certain regional challenges, certain regional concerns, if I may, right? And so that perhaps what those concerns were in the 80s aren't necessarily what we're faced with now. I say this because I'm thinking about the transnational drug trade, for instance, right? And the fact that this part of the world, we're looking at the Caribbean and North America. This is the corridor through which the drugs move from south to north and points beyond. When you look at the kind of training that you guys are doing, does it take into consideration what these regional concerns are?
It does. It does a lot. You know, when you're looking at transnational organized crime, we're looking at all sorts of things, you know, drug trafficking, human trafficking, contraband, all these things. The maritime law enforcement, you know, it focuses on that, you know, how certain procedures to do, you know, they also talk about international law, you know, what are these rules that govern, for example, when you're handing over something that happens in international water between two countries, you know, these are the things that, you know, all of these things, the trainees, the participants, they're taught, they're refreshed on these things, so that should there be any situation, you know, as such, then they know what the procedures are in order to have a successful mission, you know, especially when it comes to the processing of these illegal activities.
And also, since it's a joint training exercise, different countries have different ways how they enforce their area, in their water. So it shows that everybody shows how they do their one, and the US will show how they'll train how they do it, and then we come to an agreement and say, yeah, you can, you know.
What are the different tactics that follow? So how is it different from 2021 or 2020 or 2019? I'm not sure if you had it during COVID, so how
there was a 2-year pause.
There was a 2-year pause, right? So how is the 2022 different from the training in 2019?
Well, the different countries, like I mentioned, it may happen in a different country. So Tradewinds was in a different country at that time, and based on their training needs on the planning conferences, those training needs will require whatever they want. So it will always be different, but the main focus will always be the same as it relates to the main focus of the outcome, what they want to achieve. But at the end of the day, the training might be different.
So what was the significance of this year's Tradewinds 2022? What did you want to impact mostly for your participants?
One of the objectives of Tradewinds is interoperability. You know, very important, because as Mr. Good rightly mentioned, different countries do things differently. You know, it may not be a big difference, you know, but there are something that you know, that some of the procedures that they use. When it comes to international law, we all have to abide by those set of rules and regulations. One of the things that we wanted to achieve as the Belize Coast Guard is here, and perhaps it will be one of the high points for us this year, is that live training. You know, having having paused for a period of time due to COVID, our sailors are eager to go back and do something, you know, what they're used to, and to do it at this regional level, you know, it only enhances their motivation, you know, to be working along with members of partner nations. As I mentioned, the one of our high points is or will be the live firing that we had out on Saturday, of where myself and the commandant were out there. I'm pretty sure that the sailors were looking for this. You know, it's a different environment. For the most part, we do all our firings on land, you know, but in reality, the area where we operate, the environment, you know, is out in the maritime domain. So the participants got to feel, you know, the difference between firing from a stable position to firing from a boat where, you know, is moving, the boat is moving, the target is moving. So that is good.
Right.
Exactly. And in addition to that, our jumpers, you know, the Belize Coast Guard also has paratroopers. You know, we had 8 guys who jumped out. It was last week Sunday. You know, so those, I would say, those are the 2 high points, you know, of our, you know, of our organization.
I'm glad that you mentioned this, because my follow-up question would have been, how does this enhance the capabilities of our local forces, not only the Coast Guard, but the Belize Defense Force and any other agency within the law enforcement apparatus or national security apparatus, should I say, that are participating?
Yeah, it gives us the opportunity to realize, you know, that as the security forces of the country, we are here to do this together. You know, when you look at BDF jumping, you know, Coast Guard jumping, we are a maritime element. You know, Belize, the Defense Force is an infantry element. But when you know, merge them together, you know, you're doing air operations, you know, as security forces, not necessarily only the infantry, but also the Coast Guard.
In addition, this really builds morale for the military, especially in Belize, because, you know, training is a must. In any military, you have to be training and training and training. And sometimes we find out in our security forces that we sometimes always overlook training because of other commitments. But there should always be that training cycle within any military. And so this builds morals for the sailors or the soldiers at the lower end, where they will get the morale build. Now they feel they are part of something military, like, you know, really be part of it. And so we need to do these things more. And that's the reason why it circulates at different countries as the host nation, to have that impact more.
I think it also allows for you guys to build a sense of camaraderie with the other participating countries. I say that because I could recall, this may have been like 2013 or 14, I took a trip to Antigua, and that year they were hosting Tradewinds. And I wasn't there to cover, I was simply there on another purpose, but I got to see the kind of bond that was formed between, in this case, I observed a couple Belizeans who were members of the BDF, who were very, very close with the other guys who were participating from various countries. And I only met them, or I saw them, not while they were actively engaged in exercises, but afterwards. The kind of friendliness and, you know, it builds camaraderie.
I'm glad that you said that, because the Coast Guard and the BDF, we do a lot of international training. You know, that's a continuous thing. Just COVID slow it down a bit, but we meet a lot of people all over the world. And as you rightfully said, since this Tradewinds, from the planning conference, I managed to meet people that I did my officer course with, other members that I did training with, and I'm sure Mr. Canula also did the same. And other members in the Coast Guard, they meet people that they work with before, met on some training before. So it's an interaction of our military in the region, and it's very good for that. You know,
I understand the need for the training, the need to enhance, to build morale, to build camaraderie, and so forth. When it comes to who is participating in terms of the participants? What is it that you need them to do? Who is eligible for the training? Is it for everybody? How does it work?
It all depends. Prior to the actual exercise, we have different phases, planning phases, you know, and as these conferences go along, you know, and depending on the areas that need to be filled, the countries decide who will do what when it comes to the participants. For example, at the highest level within the Tradewinds exercise is the Caribbean Task Force. This is where all the staff positions are. You know, these are high level positions, you know, and then high ranking officers who, and then all the way down to for our side, the small boat handling, maritime law enforcement part. These are actually people crew members. Sorry, we refer to them as crew members who will, you know, who will be providing security for boardings, who will actually board those boats. So it differs depending on what post they're filling within their exercise.
All right, so the U.S. Southern Command has a particular objective where it concerns our waters going south, right? And when we look at the idea of regional security, those objectives are at the forefront, right? As I've mentioned earlier, transnational crimes such as drug trafficking and human trafficking are high on that agenda, so to speak. Is there a perhaps ranking of where the countries are in respect of being able to fulfill the objectives on that agenda? Like, for instance, right? If you're looking at Belize as one of the partner countries, you're looking at another island state as one of the participating countries, and you're looking at Mexico, for instance, right? And you look at all of this in the context of what the overall objective is under the U.S. Southern Command, then I could say, well, okay, well, Belize has been making strides in terms of improving its capabilities in this area. Or, you know, Mexico has been doing everything to curb human trafficking along its terrestrial borders and what have you. How do you monitor and how do you create a system where you can evaluate the progress of every country?
Okay, when it comes to ranking, as you mentioned, transnational organized crime is not a war that one country can win. You know, it's a constant battle. You know, and it is not being fought by one country. It's a joint effort. You know, so we do from our side the best that we can in order to fight that battle. You know, and I'm sure that our countries, well, the partner nations are doing what they can as in order to fight this transnational organized crime. We manage information, you know, and this is at a higher level, you know. But I am pretty sure that, you know, we are doing what we can, you know, and all partner nations are doing what they can in order to come together, you know, and say, no, this is where we are, this is what we need to do, this is where we're failing, you know, and to put measures in place, and all in order to be more effective in fighting that crime.
So being able to have the members at the tactical level being able to do their job professionally on the ground, that is what's important for these trainings. At the strategic level, this discussion that you asked will be, that's beyond our control at that time, but basically getting the guys, the sailors, the soldiers to do what they're supposed to do on a professional level on the ground, and performing their duties efficiently, that is what's important.
As Belize, as the host country, how do you select your participants to be a part of the training?
It is all based on the training that is available at that time for the training. So, Mr. Kanu, you can talk on that because you selected, you're part of the selection process for those members.
Right. So, the fleet is the operational unit of the Coast Guard. So they're the ones who do all our operational mandates. you know, they're selected within the operational unit, and it depends on their skills and what they're operating as. For example, coxswains, who are the boat handlers, you know, when the fleet does their selection, you know, these are the people who are specifically assigned to for example, to be a coxswain for the exercise. So and it goes like that for all other spots that we need to fill or to fill. As I mentioned again, these guys who would be new, what we refer to as seaman apprentice, for the most part, they would be selected as crew members, because this is where you start. You know, you begin as a crew member, you learn what you need to learn at that level, and thereafter you are qualified as you go along in different areas.
Is there perhaps some degree of friendly competition between the respective participants from the different countries? I ask that because we look at Coast Guard as the pinnacle of fitness, of proper conduct and behavior, and everything that has to do with law enforcement. That's how we Belizeans look at you guys, right? So now you're participating in this regional exercise where perhaps some of the best from these respective countries are also participating. How do you guys stack up?
I am pretty sure that when it comes to competition, you know, and I'll talk for myself, you know, while going up, you know, through the ranks, I was competitive, you know. So I'm pretty sure that within these specific areas, there are people who are competing to be, you know, I want to be the best sailor, I want to be the best coxswain, I want to be the best patrol commander. So I think from a Coast Guard perspective, I know there is that level of healthy competition, you know, considering that, you know, you want to be effective in your area. So you will do, you know, you will study, you will work harder, you know. So and that is very good, you know. Once we have that healthy competition, I think it's something excellent for the Coast Guard. You know, this is where people prove themselves, and they work hard in order for them to prove themselves in their fields.
The thing is, Tradewinds is not really a course, it's an exercise, and it's hard to see competition, but we notice some, from time to time in Tradewinds and going on different trainings, as members on Tradewinds and different countries we attend, we always want to go and take our A game also, especially the training that you're going on. So I noticed it in the engineering training last week, where you have different countries, each of them on different boats working on engines, and everybody wants to be the one to try to show that they can do this and do that. So I believe they send their best members to partake in these trainings to, you know, to show that they are good.
I guess that's why I asked how you select your participants. Is there a competition or so forth to send your best man out there? But I want to ask in terms of results and how you think your fleet, your participants have been doing with these trainings in the past few days.
I can say that, and I can talk from the engineering part, because I'm not out at out at Calabash Key, where the law enforcement, I know Mr. Cannell was out there. Moving around at the engineering and the dive area, I can say that these guys are very motivative, and they have an end state that they want to achieve. So they have a goal that they want to bring out a number of boats and could say they can land to, because part of the training is to take some of our small boats that are not working, and at the end of the course being able to have these boats operational, you know. So that's their goal, and they have been doing so since last week. They had to slow down a little bit because they are doing well. Oh,
they're going through the courses too quickly.
They were about to complete Tradewinds before the
But that's good, right? That attests to the skills.
So yes, they get a lot. You know, I'm keeping in contact with our guys who are working at the Caribbean Task Force, and on a daily basis, you know, they're constantly saying, you know, we learn a lot. We're learning a lot, things that you know, we're looking at more of a higher level operations, administration, running of operations, analyzing missions, gathering information for missions, and it's a positive comeback. You know, every day I call him and what's new, you know. I mean, it's excellent. We learned something new today, something that, you know, I had never heard about, you know. So this is one of the the achievements, you know, within Tradewinds, to expose our guys to different levels, you know, so that at the end of the training they can say, you know what, well, it was successful. I mean, it's something that we need to continue taking part or being part of, and it's for all levels, you know. We try to do our best to keep training, you know, our guys, so that when exercises like these come up, they know that it is not something new that they're venturing into. You know, I'm ready to go. I know what to do. You know, as mentioned before, there might be some differences depending on how different countries do things. You know, but the basic knowledge is there. You know, and they're sure that it is not. They are not being launched into doing something new.
You've mentioned Calabash Key. Is that one of the outposts, or is that one of the locations where this training is taking place?
So it's in the Turnef Atoll. They are using Haven at this time, generally, but you know, we have an FOB there in Calabash also, that in support of the training. But the training is actually happening in Haven.
Okay.
Yeah. At the Haven. Yeah.
But that's just for the Coast Guard,
that's just
right?
for the Coast Guard
Because you have the
maritime phase. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and this is where we have the guys. They're all being lodged out there, you know, for the 2 weeks. This is where they're doing the maritime law enforcement, the small boat handling. That's where we did the live firing. You know, and prior to live firing, we sent out what we refer to as notice to mariners, to airmen, for them to be, you know, cognizant that this area will be active. Obviously, all the safety measures are put in place. It is a controlled area, but it was because it was conducted on Saturday, you know. So, and yeah, that's where these trainings are happening for us.
So no reports of anyone being injured during this activity or anything.
Not as yet.
Nobody.
Not
I will
as
say
yet.
not as yet because it's not finished yet. But yeah, thankfully, everything is going as programmed. So far, we haven't had any major incident, you know, injuries. So I hope it remains that way for the remaining of
Is
the
there a
training.
post-mortem or like an after-action review that takes place following the Tradewinds?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, and it will be somewhat similar to what all the planning conferences have been. This is where, again, all the lead maritime planner, well, the lead planners, not maritime, sorry, but the lead planners will get together and we will do what we refer to as an after-action conference, you know, where, you know, all these regional leads will get together. It should be held in Miami, and to analyze, you know, what we achieved, you know, what we were short on, you know, what we need to improve on, and these things.
So what is the next step when you're done with the Tradewinds? What happens afterwards?
We committed a lot of personnel for Tradewinds. Coast Guard, we have approximately 90 sailors doing Tradewinds at different levels. So after Tradewinds is one, back to normal operations, you know, and two, keep training. You know, we just cannot allow it for these skills to be, you know, to be left, you know, and become dormant for a while. No, we will keep training to ensure that our guys are, you know, are up to scratch with what they're supposed to do. You know, that's what's next for us.
How does knowledge sharing work in this context where, for instance, you send these 90 guys to participate in a training, but the complement of the Coast Guard is well beyond 90 persons, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But what they've learned, the skills and the knowledge that they've learned doing these specific trainings, how is that shared with other people within the Coast Guard? I would assume perhaps it's the same mentality within the Belize Defense Force, that you would have to learn and then share what you've learned with others.
I can say this happens on a routine manner as operations continue throughout the year, as a routine, as patrols going out, and these members are on board also. Besides the normal classroom work where we might get some people that are learn exceedingly from these training. At times, with grab personnel that are well versed with these trainings and put them into the classroom and assist. But I'm saying, like, on a regular basis, patrols going out and they're complement to that patrol, they would assist in what they learn and show the others as they go along. And training continue at these FOBs when they are deployed out. So that's how we can say the training continues, no? Educating each other.
Additionally, we have what we refer to as mentors, you know, and mentors meaning assistant instructors, you know, people who are versed with the area where we are operating for now. For the most part, we have participated in Tradewinds as trainees. You know, now it is the intent of the commandant to raise the bar, you know, and actually have instructors in Tradewinds exercise in the future, you know. So for this one specifically, that's the reason for those mentors to be out there as assistant instructors, you know, and these people who are out there playing this role, they are people who are instructors. They're petty officers for the most part who are instructors for the Belize Coast Guard. So they go out there, you know, they refresh again their instructing skills. They're being used as somewhat assistant instructors, you know, so that when they come back, you know, they can impart what they learned. If there's anything new that they learned, they can impart it to the rest of the men and women of the Coast Guard.
I would imagine that Tradewinds is something of like a diplomatic exercise, right? We kind of mingle and we kind of train with the people who we are friendly with, in terms of, you know, different countries. Who decides where the training is held, and when do you get notice of that?
You mean the country or the location?
The location and the countries, yeah.
Yeah, that's not our control. That's from Southcom. You know, they decide that there's a rotation that happens, and based on the needs of the training or based on what they want to achieve, they'll decide what country they want to use for that.
So what was Belize's main focus for providing the services this year? What did you guys have to bring to the table?
Belize focus a lot on well, the maritime phase I'm talking, right? We are, would say, experts in small boat handling. We that's our bread and butter. And a lot of the Caribbean countries, because they did patrol boats, yes, of course, they are outnumbered us in that because we do not have patrol boats. But when it comes to small boats, we do that. We operate small boats a lot, and so they believe when it comes to counter narcotics and stuff like that, in the areas that we have the islands and different areas to maneuver, small boats operations is very important at this time, and I believe we will bring that to the table for this Tradewinds.
Excellent. All right, so is there, as we narrow down the end of this discussion, is there anything that we should look forward to for the remainder of Tradewinds 2022? Well,
yeah, we have the culminating exercise is taking place between the 17th and the 19th. This is where scenarios are put together, you know, and then they're put into practice during these 3 days. We're having a ship, what we refer to as a cutter from Mexico coming in, and this is where you see how cutter operations and small boat operations merge, you know, whereby you have these two different sizes of vessels operating in our waters to achieve one goal. You know, it's a very good exercise, a very good experience. A lot of planning behind that. We have what we excel in our small boats. You know, this is what we live by. You know, operating small boats, intercepting in small boats. So that is one of the big events for the exercise, the culminating exercise, and I'm pretty sure that the sailors are eager to be taking part in that.
I think one thing we didn't mention here as it relates to takeaways from this training is communication, because there's a big focus on communication for this training also, and with that training also the patrol boat will be having the aircraft that will be supporting it also, and how to communicate with the aircraft and pinpoint certain locations. But communication was a key factor that the commandant stressed on, and We also have other companies that came in, the Aeronet system, that to test other communicating systems, because at sea it's different from land when it comes to communication. So that is a very important point for us also.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for coming in, and I guess we'll get another update once the exercise is over.
Sure. Well, we are having a closing ceremony on Friday,
right.
and the Coast Guard is in charge of the closing ceremony, so that's another big event.
You uncovered it.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. And we're completely out of time, and so we'll take another short break, and we'll continue the conversation when we get